I, 29M, just witnessed what might be the most spectacular professional and personal implosion in history, and I'm questioning whether I went too far. My ex-girlfriend Sarah, 27F, and her affair partner Marcus, 35M, didn't just lose their jobs, they lost their reputations, their financial security, and are now facing serious criminal charges. All because I sent one carefully crafted email to the right person with some screenshots attached. Sarah Michelle Patterson and I had been together for 3.5 years. We lived together in a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in the Pearl District of Portland, Oregon, leased solely in my name because I had the better credit score and stable income as a senior software developer at a tech startup downtown. She worked as a graphic designer at a boutique advertising agency called Creative Minds Studio in the trendy Alberta Arts District. Her direct supervisor was Marcus Chen, a 35-year-old guy who seemed like the perfect family man on social media. His Instagram was constantly filled with pictures of his wife Elena and their 7-year-old twin daughters, Sophia and Isabella. Photos from family camping trips to Crater Lake, birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese, school plays, soccer games, the whole wholesome dad routine. He was always posting inspirational quotes about work-life balance and family values, complete with sunset photos and motivational hashtags. Marcus had been to our apartment multiple times over the past 1.5 years for various work-related gatherings and casual dinner parties. He seemed genuinely likable, complimented my homemade carbonara, brought expensive wine, talked extensively about how much he valued maintaining boundaries between work and personal life, and even enthusiastically suggested we should all do a couple's weekend getaway to the Oregon coast. "Elena would love you guys," he'd said. "We should definitely plan something for this summer." Elena herself seemed absolutely lovely the few times I met her at Creative Minds Studio's quarterly company parties and holiday events. She was articulate, intelligent, had an infectious laugh, and always made a point to ask me about my work and interests. She seemed genuinely interested in getting to know the partners of her employees, which I respected. Sarah always spoke highly of the company culture, and particularly praised Marcus as a mentor and leader. "He's so different from other bosses I've had," she'd tell me. "He actually cares about our professional development and treats everyone with respect. Plus, he's building something really special at Creative Minds." The relationship deterioration. Looking back now with 2020 hindsight, there were signs that our relationship was deteriorating that I either missed or chose to ignore. Sarah had become increasingly distant over the past 4 months, spending longer hours at the office, taking work calls at odd hours, and being generally less communicative about her day-to-day experiences. She'd become protective of her phone, taking it with her to the bathroom, sleeping with it face down, and getting visibly anxious when notifications came in while we were together. Our physical intimacy had declined significantly. Date nights became less frequent. She'd started picking fights about small things, how I loaded the dishwasher, my choice of weekend activities, even my breathing patterns while sleeping. Classic signs of someone who's mentally and emotionally checked out of a relationship, but I attributed it to work stress and creative pressures. She'd also started working late more frequently, often texting me around 8 or 9 p.m. saying she was stuck in a client meeting or working on a deadline emergency. Looking back, the frequency of these emergencies was suspicious, but I trusted her completely. I had no reason not to. The bombshell text message. 2 months ago, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in March, I was deep in debugging a particularly frustrating piece of code at my office when my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. I expected it to be something routine, asking me to pick up groceries or confirming dinner plans. Instead, I got a message that completely destroyed my world in the most casual way possible. "Hey David, so I need to tell you something important. I've been seeing Marcus from work for the past few months and we've realized we're really in love with each other. I know this probably comes as a shock, but I've been thinking about this for a while and I've made the decision to move forward with him. I'm going to be moving in with him this weekend. I know this isn't the ideal way to handle this situation, but I didn't want to keep living a lie or leading you on when my heart is clearly somewhere else. I'll come get my personal belongings this Saturday while you're at your brother's birthday party. Please don't make this any more complicated or weird than it needs to be. Thanks for understanding. Sarah?" I stared at that message for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 or 15 minutes. 3.5 years of shared experiences, future plans, intimate moments, and daily life together reduced to a casual, "Hey David" text message. The tone was so matter-of-fact, so dismissive, like she was informing me about a change in lunch plans, rather than the complete annihilation of our relationship and my immediate future. The most insulting part wasn't even the cheating. It was the casual tone, and the assumption that I'd just quietly accept this betrayal and not make it weird. The request to avoid complicating things was particularly galling, as if I was the one who had complicated things by existing in a relationship that she'd unilaterally decided to terminate via text message. I took a screenshot of the message immediately, some instinct telling me I might need documentation later. Then I sat there trying to process what I just read. After about 20 minutes of staring at my computer screen without seeing it, I decided to respond. I kept it simple. Understood. Good luck with everything. She started typing almost immediately. I could see the 3 dots appearing and disappearing repeatedly for what must have been 10 minutes. Finally, a response came. That's it? You're not going to fight for us or ask me to reconsider? My response? You just informed me that you're in love with another man and moving in with him this weekend. What exactly is there to fight for at this point? Her reply came quickly. This is exactly why our relationship didn't work out, David. You never showed any real emotion or passion about our relationship. Everything was always so logical and detached with you. Marcus actually fights for what he wants. I couldn't help myself. I showed plenty of emotion and passion over the years. You just decided to look for both of those things in your married supervisor's bed instead of addressing any concerns with me directly. That's really unfair and hurtful. You're making me out to be some kind of villain when I'm just trying to be honest about my feelings. You're right. Having an affair with your married boss for months and then ending our relationship via text message is clearly the work of someone who values honesty and direct communication. She didn't respond after that exchange. I screenshotted our entire conversation thread and saved everything to my personal Google Drive account, along with a folder labeled Sarah, documentation. Something in my gut told me I might need proof of how this all went down later. The research phase. That evening, instead of drowning my sorrows in alcohol or calling friends to vent, I did what any good software developer would do when faced with incomplete information. I started gathering data and conducting research. I needed to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with. I started with LinkedIn, looking up Marcus Chen to better understand his professional background and current situation. What I found was very interesting and quite different from how Sarah had always described him. Marcus wasn't the company founder or owner that Sarah had always made him out to be in her stories about work. He was listed as Senior Creative Director at Creative Minds Studio, a role he'd held for about 4 years according to his profile. His educational background was decent, BFA from Portland State University, some continuing education certificates, but nothing spectacular. Then I looked up the actual company ownership information, which is public record in Oregon. Creative Minds Studio LLC was founded 6 years ago by Elena Maria Rodriguez Chen. She was the sole owner and CEO. Marcus was just an employee, a well-paid employee with a fancy title, but an employee nonetheless. I decided to dig deeper into Elena's background, and what I found was impressive as hell. MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business. Previously worked as a senior account executive at major advertising agencies in San Francisco and Seattle. Had grown Creative Minds Studio from a 2-person operation run out of her home office to a 25-employee firm with high-profile clients throughout the Pacific Northwest. Her LinkedIn profile was extremely professional and detailed. Under the About section, she'd written, passionate advocate for ethical business practices, transparent communication, and maintaining the highest professional standards in all client and employee relationships. I believe that integrity and honesty are the foundation of any successful business venture. The irony was almost too perfect. Elena's profile also mentioned her involvement in several professional organizations, including the Portland Business Women's Network and the Oregon Association of Marketing Professionals. She regularly posted thoughtful articles about leadership, entrepreneurship, and workplace culture. One recent post had been about the importance of trust and communication in building successful teams. I crafted a careful, professional message. Hello, Miss Rodriguez Chen. I hope this message finds you well. I believe there's something very important you should know regarding your husband Marcus and one of your employees, Sarah Mitchell. This is a difficult situation to communicate via LinkedIn, but I felt you deserve to know what's happening within your own company. I have documentation and evidence if you need it for any official purposes. I want to be clear that I'm not seeking drama or revenge. I simply believe you deserve to know the truth about what's been going on. Please let me know if you'd like me to provide more detailed information. Her response came within 2 hours. Thank you for reaching out, David. I appreciate your professionalism and discretion in bringing this matter to my attention. Please send all relevant information to my personal email address, elena.rodriguez.chen@gmail.com. I take these matters very seriously and will handle the situation appropriately. Thank you for having the courage to tell the truth. I sent her a comprehensive package, screenshots of Sarah's breakup text and our subsequent conversation. Photos I had from the company holiday party in December, where Marcus and Sarah were standing unusually close together and looking very comfortable with each other. And a detailed timeline of Sarah's changing behavior patterns over the past few months that now made much more sense in context. Update 1. The professional nuclear option. Elena Rodriguez Chen was not someone who approached serious matters with hesitation or uncertainty. The following Monday morning, she walked into Creative Mind Studio accompanied by her personal attorney, the company's HR director, and 2 security personnel from a professional security firm. My friend Jake Morrison, who works at Creative Minds as a senior copywriter, texted me real-time updates throughout the morning like he was providing live coverage of the most dramatic workplace event in Portland history. Jake's first text at 9:15 a.m., "Dude, Elena just walked in with what looks like a legal team and security guards. Something major is about to go down." 9:18 a.m., they're heading straight to Marcus's office. He's in there with Sarah for their usual Monday morning project planning meeting. This is about to get very interesting. 9:22 a.m., you can hear Elena's voice from across the entire office. She's speaking very clearly and formally. This sounds official as hell. According to Jake's play-by-play updates and what he overheard from his desk about 30 feet away from Marcus's corner office, the conversation went something like this. Elena knocked once on Marcus's office door and then entered without waiting for permission. Marcus and Sarah were sitting close together at his conference table, supposedly reviewing client presentations, but they immediately separated when she walked in. "Marcus," Elena said in a voice that could be heard clearly throughout the open office layout, "your employment with Creative Mind Studio is terminated immediately, effective as of this moment, for gross violation of company policy regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships, abuse of your managerial position and authority, and conduct that is detrimental to the company's reputation and workplace environment. Security personnel are here to escort you from the premises. Your personal belongings will be packed by HR and shipped to whatever address you provide. Your company computer access has been revoked, your company credit card has been canceled, and your final paycheck will reflect deductions for personal expenses that were inappropriately charged to company accounts." Marcus tried to play innocent and confused. "Elena, honey, what are you talking about? There must be some kind of misunderstanding here. Can we discuss this privately?" Elena placed a thick manila folder on his desk with a firm thud that Jake said echoed throughout the office. "Divorce papers filed this morning with Multnomah County Family Court. Also included in this folder is a civil lawsuit against Miss Mitchell for alienation of affection, which is still legally actionable in Oregon under specific circumstances that have been met in this case. Your personal credit cards have been canceled, your access to our joint bank accounts has been suspended, and I've initiated the process to remove you from all jointly held assets." She then turned her attention to Sarah, who had gone completely pale and was visibly shaking. "Miss Mitchell, your employment here is also terminated immediately for violating company policy, providing false information to HR during your recent performance reviews when directly asked about any conflicts of interest or inappropriate relationships, and using company resources and equipment to conduct personal affairs. I have copies of your personal email exchanges that you conducted using company computers, which were quite explicit and entirely inappropriate for a workplace environment." Sarah found her voice and had the incredible audacity to argue back. "You can't fire me for my personal relationships. This is wrongful termination, and I'm going to report you to the labor board." Elena's response was ice cold and legally precise. "I absolutely can terminate you for conducting a sexual relationship with your direct supervisor, lying about it when directly questioned during official HR processes, using company equipment for personal communications of a sexual and inappropriate nature, creating a hostile work environment for other employees who were forced to witness inappropriate behavior between management and staff, and violating the company's code of conduct that you signed when you were hired. My attorney has advised me that this termination is completely justified, thoroughly documented, and will withstand any legal challenge." Jake said Sarah actually started crying and claimed she was being targeted for finding love in an unexpected place. Elena literally laughed out loud, not a mean laugh, but a genuinely surprised laugh, and said, "Love? That's fascinating, Sarah. Marcus submitted a written request just 3 weeks ago to use company funds for a second honeymoon vacation with me to Maui to celebrate our 5th wedding anniversary. He also scheduled a consultation with a fertility specialist because we've been trying for a 3rd child. Was that before or after this great love affair began?" The office had gone completely silent. Jake said you could have heard a pin drop anywhere in the building. Marcus tried to interrupt. "Elena, you're taking this completely out of context. Sarah and I have developed feelings for each other. But nothing inappropriate happened until after I had already decided our marriage wasn't working." Elena's response shut him down immediately. "Marcus, I have security camera footage from the building's parking garage showing you and Miss Mitchell in compromising positions in your company vehicle on at least 6 different occasions over the past 3 months. I have email records of you using company resources to make hotel reservations and restaurant reservations for romantic encounters. I have credit card records showing you charged flowers, jewelry, and intimate apparel to company accounts. Save your explanations for your attorney and the divorce court. Both Marcus and Sarah were escorted out by security within 15 minutes. Jake said Marcus tried to take his laptop and some files, but security stopped him. Security guard, that's company property, sir. Marcus, I have personal files and projects on there. You should have considered that before using company property to conduct your personal affairs and document your adultery. Jake's final text of the morning. Holy shit, David. That was the most professionally brutal takedown I've ever witnessed. Elena didn't raise her voice once, didn't get emotional, just systematically destroyed both of their careers and lives in about 20 minutes. It was like watching a masterclass in consequences. Update 2. The immediate aftermath and escalating drama. Sarah called me that same afternoon, and I've never heard someone sound so completely panicked and desperate in my entire life. David. Oh my God, David. How could you do this to me? You've completely destroyed my entire life. I lost my job because of you. Elena is fucking psychotic, and she's trying to ruin everything. I let her vent for about 30 seconds before responding calmly. I didn't make you have an affair with your married boss, Sarah. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure his wife knew about what was happening in her own company. Elena is absolutely insane. She's suing me for $300,000. $300,000, David! That's completely insane and vindictive. I don't have that kind of money. Maybe you should have researched the legal consequences before sleeping with married men and destroying their families. Marcus says you've ruined everything we were building together. We had plans, David. We were going to start our own agency and build something beautiful together. Build a life with what money, Sarah? He doesn't actually own anything. It's all Elena's company, Elena's house, Elena's money, Elena's success. You picked the wrong married man to have an affair with if you were looking for financial security. You don't understand. Marcus is incredibly talented and well-connected in this industry. He was going to help me advance my career. He's a middle management employee at his wife's company who just got fired for gross misconduct. His connections aren't going to help anyone now. She hung up on me, but Marcus called me about 2 hours later. He left a voicemail that was equal parts pathetic and threatening. You vindictive piece of garbage. You destroyed 2 careers and a beautiful relationship out of petty jealousy and spite. Sarah and I found something real and meaningful, and you couldn't stand to see her happy with someone who actually appreciated her talents and treated her with respect. I hope you're fucking happy with yourself because you've ruined multiple lives over your bruised ego. This isn't over, David. I have connections in this city, and people are going to hear about what kind of person you really are. I texted back. I'm actually very happy, Marcus. Thanks for asking. You destroyed your own family when you chose to cheat on your wife with an employee at her company while embezzling her money. I just made sure she found out about it. Everything else is just consequences. Update 3. The entitlement reaches absolutely absurd heights. 3 days later, on Thursday evening, Sarah showed up at my apartment completely unannounced, accompanied by her older sister Amanda and their mother, Patricia. They requested to talk like adults and work out a reasonable solution to this mess. I was genuinely curious about what kind of mental gymnastics they were planning to attempt, so I let them into my living room. Patricia, a 58-year-old real estate agent from Beaverton, immediately took charge of the conversation. David, honey, we understand that you were hurt and upset by Sarah's decision to end your relationship. But what you've done here has gone way too far. You need to call Elena Rodriguez and tell her that you misunderstood what Sarah meant in those text messages. I didn't misunderstand anything, Mrs. Patterson. Sarah explicitly told me she had been seeing Marcus for months, that they were in love, and that she was moving in with him. Those were her exact words. There's no ambiguity there. Amanda jumped in. You took everything completely out of context, David. Sarah was trying to be honest with you about her feelings, and you twisted it into something malicious. What context am I missing, Amanda? She said, and I quote, I've been seeing Marcus from work for the past few months, and we've realized we're really in love with each other. How is that out of context? Sarah, who had been crying since they arrived, the kind of performative crying where she kept checking to see if I was watching, finally spoke up. Elena is being completely unreasonable and vindictive. She's trying to take everything from Marcus, his job, his relationship with his children, their house, their cars, everything. It's all just pure revenge because her ego is bruised. Elena owns the company that Marcus worked for. The house is in her name. The cars are in her name. And those are her children too. She's not taking anything from Marcus. She's protecting her assets and her family from a cheating husband who was embezzling her money. Patricia tried a different approach. You're tearing apart a family, David. Those little girls are going to grow up without their father in the house because of your vindictive actions. Marcus tore apart his own family when he decided to have an affair with a subordinate employee at his wife's company. Those little girls are going to grow up knowing their father chose his selfish desires over their family's well-being. Then came the moment that will live in infamy in my memory forever. Sarah, with tears streaming down her face, said, "Marcus is staying with me now in my new apartment because Alina kicked him out of his own house. We need money for legal fees and basic living expenses. Since we were together for so long and built a life together, you owe me at least half of everything in this apartment. It's only fair." The audacity was absolutely breathtaking. I actually laughed out loud. "Sarah, this is my apartment. Only my name is on the lease. Every piece of furniture in here has a receipt showing that I purchased it with my own money. You contributed absolutely nothing to this household except splitting the grocery bills occasionally. We lived together for 3.5 years. That makes it community property under Oregon law. Oregon isn't a common law marriage state, Sarah. We weren't married, we weren't engaged, and you have no legal claim to any of my personal property whatsoever." Amanda tried yet another approach. "David, you're destroying Marcus's relationship with his children. Elena is being vindictive and trying to keep him away from his own daughters." Marcus destroyed his own relationship with his children when he chose to cheat on their mother with a subordinate employee at their mother's company while embezzling money from their mother's business. Elena is protecting her children from the chaos and instability that Marcus created. Patricia pulled out what she clearly thought was her trump card. "David, we know you're a good person with a good heart. This isn't who you really are. You need to do the right thing here and help Sarah and Marcus get through this difficult time. They made mistakes, but everyone deserves forgiveness and a second chance." "They didn't make mistakes, Mrs. Patterson. They made calculated choices over a period of months. Marcus chose to violate his marriage vows, violate company policy, abuse his managerial authority, and embezzle money from his wife's business. Sarah chose to have an affair with a married man, lie to HR, and end our relationship via text message. These weren't mistakes. They were choices with predictable consequences." The conversation continued in circles for another 20 minutes, with all three of them trying different emotional manipulation tactics: guilt, sympathy, appeals to my supposed better nature, and even some veiled threats about how Marcus has connections in the Portland business community. Finally, I ended the circus. "Ladies, I'm going to make this very simple. I told the truth to someone who deserved to know it. Everything that happened after that point is the direct result of Marcus and Sarah's own actions and choices. I'm not responsible for the consequences of their behavior, and I'm not going to help them avoid those consequences." They left when I started recording the conversation on my phone for my own protection, but not before Sarah delivered this parting shot. "This isn't over, David. Marcus knows people in this industry, and Elena won't always have the power to protect herself. We're going to rebuild and come back stronger than ever. Elena has successfully built and run a business for 6 years. She has real professional relationships and a solid reputation. Marcus is an unemployed adulterer who got fired for embezzlement. Good luck with that rebuilding project." The next morning, I discovered that someone had keyed my car overnight. Deep, deliberate scratches along the entire passenger side that would cost me about $2,800 to repair. I filed a police report, but without security camera footage or witnesses, there wasn't much the police could do. The building's parking garage security camera had a convenient blind spot right where I park. I knew it was either Sarah or Marcus, but I couldn't prove it. However, I did mention it to Elena in a follow-up email, just to document the pattern of escalating behavior. Update 4, the complete professional and personal meltdown. Over the next few weeks, Jake continued to keep me updated on the industry gossip and the investigation that Elena was conducting into Marcus and Sarah's activities at Creative Minds Studio. The more Elena dug into their behavior, the worse it got. Marcus had been making promises to Sarah about her career advancement that he had absolutely no authority to fulfill. He'd told her she was going to be promoted to senior designer with a $15,000 raise and her own office, decisions that could only be made by Elena as the company owner. He'd also told her that Elena was difficult to work with and didn't understand the creative process, which was completely contrary to what every other employee had experienced. Elena's investigation revealed that Marcus had been telling Sarah that he'd been planning to divorce Elena for over a year and was just waiting for the right time to leave. Meanwhile, he'd been actively trying to convince Elena to have another child and had scheduled multiple romantic getaways with her during the same time period he was having an affair with Sarah. The financial irregularities were extensive and troubling. Marcus had been using the company credit card for personal expenses related to his affair with Sarah, expensive restaurants, hotel rooms, flowers, jewelry, and even lingerie purchases. The total amount of unauthorized expenses was approximately $18,000 over a 6-month period. Sarah had been logging hours that she hadn't actually worked, with Marcus's approval as her supervisor. She was claiming 45 to 50 hours per week, when she was actually working closer to 30 to 35 hours because she was spending work time on personal activities related to the affair. Most seriously, both Marcus and Sarah had been copying client contact information, vendor relationships, and proprietary Creative Mind Studio processes and procedures to their personal email accounts. Elena's IT investigation revealed that they had been planning to start their own competing agency and steal Creative Mind's clients and business relationships. The evidence was so extensive and damaging that Elena made the decision to contact law enforcement and press criminal charges for embezzlement, theft of trade secrets, and fraud. Update 5. The criminal charges and legal consequences. 2 weeks after the terminations, Sarah called me in a complete panic. She was crying so hard I could barely understand what she was saying. David, you have to help us, please. Elena's lawyer contacted the district attorney's office, and they're pressing criminal charges against us. Marcus might actually go to prison. You have to call Elena and tell her that we never stole anything and that this is all a big misunderstanding. Sarah, I don't know what you did or didn't steal. That's between you, Marcus, and the criminal investigators. I'm not getting involved in that. It was only like $18,000 total, and we never actually used any of the client information. We were just keeping it for reference. This is completely blown out of proportion. Only $18,000 in embezzlement? Sarah, that's a felony, and theft of trade secrets is also a serious crime, regardless of whether you actually use the information. You have to help us, David. We can't afford a good lawyer for criminal charges. Marcus's parents are already mortgaging their house to pay for the divorce attorney. Maybe you both should have thought about potential criminal consequences before embezzling money and stealing proprietary business information from Marcus's wife's company. This is all Elena's fault. She's being vindictive and trying to destroy our lives because she can't accept that Marcus fell in love with someone else. Elena is protecting her business, her assets, and her family from people who betrayed her trust and stole from her. Everything that's happening to you is a direct result of your own choices and actions. She hung up on me and immediately blocked my number, then unblocked me an hour later to send me a series of increasingly unhinged text messages about how I was a vindictive sociopath who had destroyed innocent people's lives over petty jealousy, and how she hoped I was happy with the pain and suffering I had caused. Marcus tried a different approach entirely. 2 days later, he showed up at my workplace downtown. Fortunately, I had already warned our office security about the possibility that he might try to confront me, so they were prepared. Security stopped him at the front desk and called me. Mr. Peterson, there's a Marcus Chen here who says he needs to speak with you about an urgent personal matter. Please escort him off the property immediately. He's been terminated from his job for misconduct and has been making threats. I don't want to speak with him. Marcus was escorted out of the building while yelling loudly enough for other people in the lobby to hear. David Peterson destroyed my family and my career out of jealousy. He's a vindictive psychopath who can't stand to see other people happy. Building security informed me that he was banned from the property and that they'd call the police if he returned. Update 6. The spectacular downward spiral continues. The legal proceedings moved forward quickly and efficiently. From what I heard through Jake, public records, and occasional updates from Elena's attorney, who contacted me to thank me for my cooperation and offer me the opportunity to provide a character witness statement if needed, the situation deteriorated rapidly for both Marcus and Sarah. Marcus ultimately pled guilty to felony embezzlement and theft of trade secrets to avoid a trial and potential jail time. He received 3 years of supervised probation, 240 hours of community service, and was ordered to pay full restitution of $23,000 plus penalties and interest. He also had to surrender his passport and is prohibited from working in any position that involves financial responsibilities or access to proprietary business information. Sarah was convicted of theft, fraud, and conspiracy. She received 2 years of supervised probation, 180 hours of community service, and was ordered to pay $8,000 in restitution for the hours she fraudulently claimed. She's also prohibited from working in the advertising or marketing industry in Oregon for 5 years. Elena received everything in the divorce settlement. The house, which was solely in her name anyway. Both vehicles, primary custody of Sophia and Isabella, with Marcus getting supervised visitation every other weekend. And Marcus was ordered to pay $2,400 per month in child support, plus half of all childcare and medical expenses. Marcus's parents, Robert and Linda Chen, had to take out a second mortgage on their retirement home to pay for his legal fees. They're both in their late 60s and had been planning to retire next year, but now they're stuck working for several more years to pay off the debt their son created. Sarah's family depleted their vacation savings and emergency fund to pay for her criminal defense attorney. Her parents had been planning a 30th anniversary trip to Europe that they've had to cancel indefinitely. The civil lawsuit for alienation of affection was settled out of court for what Jake heard was a substantial amount that Sarah will be making payments on for the next 12 years. The exact amount was confidential, But based on Sarah's current financial situation, it's clearly more than she can realistically afford. Update 7. The aftermath and current situation. Meanwhile, Elena's company has not only survived the scandal, but actually thrived in the aftermath. She promoted Jake Morrison to senior creative director, Marcus's former position, and hired 2 additional talented staff members who had been laid off from other agencies during the pandemic. Creative Mind Studio landed 3 major new clients who specifically mentioned that they were impressed by Elena's professional and ethical handling of the workplace misconduct situation. Elena was featured in a Portland Business Journal article titled "Leading with Integrity: How One CEO Turned Crisis into Opportunity." The article praised her transparency, decisive leadership, and commitment to maintaining professional standards even when it involved personal relationships. She sent me a personal thank you card with a $200 gift certificate to one of Portland's nicest restaurants. David, thank you for having the integrity and courage to tell the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. My daughters and I are building a much healthier and more honest life without the deception and betrayal that Marcus brought into our home. I hope that someday Marcus will realize the tremendous damage he caused to his children and will work to become the father they deserve. Your honesty allowed me to protect my family and my business from further harm. I will always be grateful for your courage. Based on updates from Jake and what I've observed through social media and public records, Sarah is currently working at a customer service call center in Tigard, making about $16 per hour answering complaint calls for a furniture company. She's living in a studio apartment in Beaverton that costs more than half her monthly income. Her LinkedIn profile still falsely lists her as a senior graphic designer at Creative Mind Studio, which is completely fraudulent since she was terminated for cause 4 months ago. Marcus is attempting to do freelance graphic design work, but his reputation in the Portland market is completely destroyed. Elena made sure that the circumstances of his termination were properly documented and shared with relevant professional networks, so most local agencies won't work with him. He's living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Southeast Portland and struggling to meet his child support obligations. He sees Sophia and Isabella every other weekend for supervised visits at a family therapy center. Someone created a website called MarcusChenPortland.com that documents the entire scandal with public court records, news articles, and screenshots of social media posts. It comes up as the first result when you Google his name. It wasn't me who created the site, but I have tremendous respect for whoever took the time to document everything so thoroughly. Marcus deleted all his social media accounts after the website went live, and people started posting links to it on his LinkedIn and Instagram profiles. Elena is doing better than ever. She recently posted on LinkedIn about Creative Mind Studio's record-breaking quarter and announced that they're expanding into video production services. She's also engaged to a really wonderful guy named David Rodriguez, no relation to her professionally. He's a pediatric nurse at OHSU, who clearly adores both her and the twins. The final confrontation. Sarah's last communication with me before I permanently blocked her number was a 3-paragraph text message that arrived at 2:47 a.m. on a Saturday night, clearly written while she was drinking. David, I hope you're fucking happy with yourself. You got your revenge and destroyed everything beautiful that Marcus and I were building together. We were in love and planning a future, and you couldn't stand to see me happy with someone who actually appreciated my talents and treated me like the amazing woman I am. You ruined everything out of pure spite and jealousy, and now Marcus's children don't have their father in their home, and I lost the best job I've ever had. Elena is a cold, vindictive bitch who cares more about money and control than human happiness, and you're exactly like her. I hope someday you realize what you've done to innocent people who are just trying to find love and build something meaningful together. Marcus says he'll never forgive you for destroying his family, and neither will I. I didn't respond, but I did screenshot the message and forward it to Elena's attorney, just in case Sarah's harassment escalated further. Personal reflection and current life. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to. This was never about revenge or jealousy. I sent one carefully written email with some screenshots attached to a woman who deserved to know that her husband was cheating on her with an employee at her own company while stealing her money. Everything that happened after that point was the direct and natural consequence of Marcus and Sarah's own choices and actions. They chose to have an affair. They chose to violate company policies. They chose to embezzle money. They chose to steal proprietary business information. They chose to lie to investigators. They chose to try to manipulate and intimidate me after they got caught. All I did was tell the truth to someone who had the right to know it. My life now is actually wonderful. I got promoted to senior software developer with a significant salary increase. I started dating someone incredible, Jessica Martinez, a 26-year-old elementary school teacher who would never in a million years handle a relationship issue via casual text message. She communicates like an actual mature adult, treats our relationship with respect and care, and brings joy and laughter into my life every single day. Jessica and I have been together for 4 months now, and the difference in emotional maturity and communication style compared to my relationship with Sarah is like comparing daylight to darkness. When Jessica has concerns or wants to discuss something important, she asks to sit down together and have a real conversation. She's honest, direct, caring, and treats our relationship like something valuable that deserves attention and effort. I'm currently saving money for a down payment on a house. I've reconnected with friends that I had neglected during the final months of my relationship with Sarah, and I've started rock climbing again, a hobby I'd given up because Sarah thought it was dangerous and immature. Do I feel bad for Sarah and Marcus? Not even slightly. They made choice after choice after choice, each one more selfish, deceptive, and destructive than the last. They thought they were untouchable because Marcus was in a supervisory position, and they assumed that Elena would just quietly accept the betrayal if she ever found out. They were wrong about everything. Marcus wasn't actually powerful. He was just an employee who happened to be married to someone successful. Elena wasn't going to quietly accept betrayal and theft. She was going to protect her business, her assets, and her family with every legal tool available to her. Some people have called me vindictive or said that I went too far, but I completely disagree. I told the truth to someone who deserved to know it. Elena made her own decisions about how to handle the information I provided. Marcus and Sarah made their own choices about how to conduct themselves both before and after they got caught. What I learned from this experience: always know who actually owns and controls the company before having an affair with your powerful boss. Marcus was never Elena's equal partner. He was her employee. Document everything, especially when people show you their true character. Screenshots and evidence matter when people try to rewrite history later. The truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, it usually brings friends along, like lawyers, investigators, and consequences. Hey is never an appropriate way to start a text message about ending a long-term relationship because you're in love with someone else. If you're going to destroy relationships and commit crimes, don't blame the person who exposed your behavior when you face consequences. Integrity and honesty are not just nice ideas. They're practical tools that protect you and the people you care about from harm. People who betray trust in one area of their lives will usually betray trust in other areas too. Marcus didn't just cheat on his wife. He also stole from her business and lied to everyone around him.